Hello, my name is Luke Bauman, and this is my video reflection. When I started this program, I had been teaching for 12 years already in regular education as a social studies teacher or a science teacher, and actually had spent 2 years teaching in the prison system. And so I had worked with students with disabilities and other students with exceptionalities, but not in a special education setting, obviously. Um, I had decided to go into special education after I had a niece that was born with Down syndrome, and having worked with um, a basketball team that consisted of a lot of students with disabilities, actually. So, having worked with those kids in the general ed setting, having contributed to some IEPs, having worked with a lot of behavior kids within the prison system, I thought that working with special education students was something that I was prepared for, something that I could do, and something that I would enjoy. I was wrong about some of those things, but I was right about some others. I knew a lot about the content in social studies, in science, and in math. I have endorsements in all of those areas. And so when it came to helping kids in those areas, I thought I would be well prepared for that, which I was. But what I was not prepared for necessarily was the work that went into an IEP and the different accommodations and modifications that need to be made for students with certain exceptionalities. So those are some of the preconceived ideas and assumptions that I had going into this program. Um, since I have been doing this program, I actually started teaching 3 years ago, started my, well, 3 school years ago. In 2016, 17 was the first school year I started doing special education, and I started my special ed program through Fort Hays in the spring of 17. So I'd already been teaching for a semester before I started taking any of these classes. I just kind of threw myself into it and learned along the way. I was very lucky to have good mentors and other people through the special ed co-op that helped me a lot with the IEP process and just learning things that I would need to do as a special education teacher. But my assumptions that I had going in have changed a lot since I've been taking the special education program. I have learned, um, as I mentioned, I've learned specifically about some um, exceptionalities, some disabilities that students have, and learned specific ways to help those. Kids with ADHD, for example, I did a project on my own about that. In looking at the other students in my class when we did those projects, I was able to learn from their presentations about other specific disabilities and ways to help students with those disabilities, ways to reach students with those disabilities, and I've been able to apply those in my classroom to help those specific kids in those areas. Taking classes to learn how to do IEPs, taking classes to learn how to do research on behavior and do functional behavior assessments and create behavior plans have helped me in those areas dramatically. I didn't even know about a functional behavioral plan. I didn't even know about that, a functional behavior assessment or behavior plan before going into special education. I mean, I guess I knew that kids had behaviors, but I never really knew you had a specific behavior plan. So learning about that and learning how to put one of those together, how to conduct a functional behavior assessment, and how to put together a behavior intervention plan have helped me drastically. As a resource teacher, I work with multiple kids that have behavior disorders or emotional disorders and have behavior issues. So those things have helped me a lot. Um, I have not had a lot of experience teaching adaptive content within the special education classroom. I have had this again my third year. I have had like two students that I adapted math class for, and one that I did some adaptive English for, and so I do have a little bit of experience with that. Mostly, I just serve as a resource teacher and help kids that come down for help on extra homework and things like that. I do some things to help meet their goals in improving math and reading, but I don't specifically teach a content within the special education classroom anymore. I did my first year with math and English, but I've learned how to do that if I need to do that through taking some of these classes to learn to adapt those content areas for the kids where they're at to help improve their skills and their abilities in math and in reading, especially in those areas, but also in writing. Changes I've made in my classroom because of this program, because of classes that I've taken. Again, as I said, I have learned to address behavior through functional behavior assessments and behavior intervention plans to help encourage positive behavior and to decrease negative behavior that goes on in the classroom. I have learned ways to develop like a token economy system and foster ways to get kids motivated, I guess you could say, to improve their grades, to improve their homework completion, to improve behavior, and other things like that. Through taking some of the courses in this program, I have been able to set up plans like that with individual kids or classroom-wide plans to help promote those kind of things within the classroom. I have definitely learned a lot through taking these classes and also being immersed in special education classroom in the last 2+ school years, and I feel like I love my job. I really do. And I wasn't fully prepared for it when I went into it, but again, through these programs, through collaborating and working and communicating with fellow students and some of the professors and my colleagues in both general and special ed, I have been able to improve my skills and abilities as a special education teacher. I've been able to improve my my abilities to conduct IEP meetings, to put together a proper IEP to meet the requirements for my special ed co-op in that regard, and again to address behaviors and goals and modifications and accommodations within the classroom. Without having taken these classes, I did receive a lot of support, like I said, through my local special education co-op and some other colleagues, but I still would be missing some of those key things. I think I am very, very much thankful for this program and for the professors that have worked with me, for other students that I've collaborated with, and the process through which I've learned to do research and prepare myself for special education. The research aspect, as I just mentioned, that's a big thing too. I never knew or thought that I'd have to do a whole lot of that type of research as a special education teacher, but being able to do so, and having done so now through some of the classes, especially some classes I took this semester, specifically AEP 803 and SPED 867, I've learned to be able to do literature reviews, to be able to analyze research, and be able to find some data to help support behavior plans that I put in place, or to help support accommodations or modifications or other programs that I might want to install with some of my students. So this program overall has been a blessing to me, and I love what I do, and through taking the Special Education Master's Program through Fort Hays State, I have come to love what I do even more and feel like I am more prepared to be successful in special education for years to come. I really appreciate my professors and fellow students as well, and I look forward to representing Fort Hays State as a special ed teacher proudly. Thank you.